The rain poured endlessly over the quiet streets of Florence that afternoon. The world seemed washed in silver light as the city moved on with its usual rush, cars honking, vendors shouting, and yet somewhere, hidden among the chaos, a man stood still, soaked, silent, and lost in thought. His name was Adrian Cole, a single father in his early 30s, with kind brown eyes that carried both warmth and pain. He wasn't anyone special, at least that's what people thought, just a man who worked at a small repair shop near the city's edge, fixing cars that nobody else wanted to touch. But behind those calm eyes lay a story of struggle, love, and a secret he'd never share. If only he knew that today, fate would bring him face to face with a woman whose name was enough to make people tremble. Isabella Moretti, the only daughter of Don Salvatore Moretti, one of the most feared mafia bosses in all of Italy. Before we dive into this emotional and powerful story, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of love to heal even the darkest hearts, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness. Your support helps these true-hearted stories reach more people who need hope in their lives. That morning, Adrian was running late to pick up his daughter Lila from school. She was 6 years old, full of life, and the reason he smiled despite his heavy heart. Ever since his wife's passing 3 years ago, he had promised himself that no matter how hard life got, he would make sure Lila never felt unloved. He worked long hours, took extra shifts, and sometimes skipped meals just to save enough for her education. That day, however, fate decided to test him. His old pickup truck broke down right in front of a black limousine outside a luxurious cafe. As he bent down to check the engine, he heard an irritated voice behind him. "Watch where you park that junk," said a woman's cold, sharp tone. He turned around and saw her, Isabella Moretti. Tall, elegant, dressed in white, her dark hair tied in a sleek bun, and her eyes as piercing as ice. She looked like someone who had everything in life but trusted no one. She didn't like being approached by strangers, especially not men who looked like they struggled to make ends meet. "I'm sorry, ma'am," Adrian said politely, with his calm smile. "It broke down. I'll move it as soon as I can." Isabella frowned. There was something about that smile, not arrogance, not fear, just quiet strength. She wasn't used to that. Most people either flattered her or ran the moment they learned who she was. But this man didn't even recognize her. Or maybe, he didn't care. Minutes later, as Adrian tried to fix the car, the rain started again. Without hesitation, he took off his jacket and covered the truck's open engine, getting drenched himself. Isabella, watching from the cafe window, found herself strangely drawn to the scene. She wasn't used to seeing kindness in men, especially after living in a world where trust could get you killed. The next day, their paths crossed again. The same cafe. The same broken-down truck. But this time, Isabella noticed a little girl waiting on a bench nearby, Lila, singing softly to herself while sketching butterflies in her notebook. Her innocence was disarming, and her laughter filled the air like music. When Adrian came to pick her up, Isabella felt something stir in her chest, a feeling she hadn't known in years. But fate wasn't done weaving its threads. 2 days later, Isabella's car broke down in the same spot. This time, Adrian helped her. She tried to refuse, but his calm determination left her no room to argue. "You should stay away from me," she warned, her voice trembling with both pride and fear. "You don't know who I am." Adrian simply smiled, wiping grease off his hands. "Doesn't matter who you are, ma'am. A car's a car, and help's help. You look like you could use both." That one line, simple, pure, and fearless, pierced through years of walls she had built around her heart. Days turned into weeks, and Isabella began visiting the cafe more often. At first, she told herself it was coincidence. But soon, even she couldn't deny that she was drawn to the quiet mechanic who never asked questions and never judged her. One day, she saw him bandaging his hand after cutting it on metal. Without thinking, she rushed over, her instincts surprising even herself. "You should be more careful," she said softly, her eyes lingering on the blood. He looked at her, that same calm smile on his lips. "Life's full of sharp edges, Ms. Moretti. Some of us just learn to handle them without bleeding too much." Her breath caught. No one had ever spoken to her like that, like she was just another person, not a name, not a warning. Isabella's world was dangerous, made of secrets, money, and power. Her father was a man feared even by the police. But inside that life, Isabella felt trapped. She longed for something real, a moment that wasn't built on lies or fear. And in Adrian's eyes, she saw that world. Simplicity. Peace. Truth. One afternoon, she found Lila waiting alone outside the cafe. Adrian had gone to get something from the shop, and the little girl was sitting quietly, drawing a picture of her father fixing a car. Isabella sat beside her. "You love your dad a lot, huh?" she asked gently. Lila nodded, smiling brightly. "He's my hero. He fixes cars and makes pancakes, and when I'm sad, he says the stars are just holes in heaven where mommy watches us." That sentence hit Isabella like a thunderclap. For the first time in years, her eyes filled with tears she didn't know she still had. The child's innocence, her faith in love, and the way she saw her father as a hero, it shattered every wall Isabella had built. From that day, she started helping Adrian in small ways, bringing lunch to the shop, buying tools for him, sometimes just sitting quietly while he worked. Slowly, the unthinkable happened. The Mafia boss's daughter and the humble single dad started to share a bond that neither could explain, something deeper than attraction, something purer than desire. It was as if their broken hearts recognized each other. But peace never lasts long in a world built on danger. Don Salvatore found out.